The Aces a 2-0 series lead. Tied at 88. Gray gets it in. Wilson on the drive. The feed. You bet! You bet! Asia Wilson!
Well, thanks to that shot, the Aces, they are up 3-0 on the Phoenix Mercury, and it's all centered around Asia Wilson. And get this, if the Aces were to win this series, she would become the first player in the WNBA and NBA history to ever win MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, and a scoring title in the same season. So for a little bit more on Game 4 tonight, I want to welcome in our WNBA reporter, Kendra Andrews, because, Kendra, we're 2 days removed from that shot heard around the world. But I'm curious, you're a 4-time MVP, you know you still got one game to go. How do you celebrate hitting a shot like that? What did she tell you?
Well, Malika, Asia Wilson, she is just like us. After that game, after that shot, which, I mean, is a career-defining shot, she went back to her hotel. She sat out on the balcony and she watched Modern Family. I mean, I did that after Game 4, too, right? I went back to my hotel and watched a little bit of Friends. So I'm feeling like I could be a 4-time MVP, too, right?
Exactly. I think that's one of the requirements. I think it's low on the scale. But going back and watching some Modern Family, why not? On the Mercury side of things, this is a little bit more of a serious subject because Satou Sabally, Kendra, already ruled out of this game with a concussion. But what more can you tell us about this injury and about the step-by-step process that she's facing now?
Yeah, Malika, Satou Sabally went down late in that Game 3 with that concussion. I was told that Nate Tibbetts, a couple other of the coaching staff members, went back to the doctor's room here at the arena to check up on her before she was taken to the hospital to get further examined. She was staying at home, so that is good news that she's no longer in the hospital. Tibbetts wasn't sure that she was going to be at the arena tonight. With the bright lights, the loud noises, it's probably not best for you to be here with a concussion. But now the Mercury, they're really trying to just turn the next page. They have a must-win game tonight. They're going to have to figure out how to supplement her absence. Nate Tibbetts didn't want to say who he would be starting in her place, but two names that we can look at, DeWanna Bonner and Sammy Whitcomb. DeWanna Bonner, she gives the team a little bit more size, some more defense. She did have success when she was first switched onto defending Asia Wilson in Game 3, and she can also score the ball. She scored 25 points in Game 3. Sammy Whitcomb, she is a player who stepped up so big for this team during the regular season when they were without Alyssa Thomas, without Kalia Copper. She hasn't had the best series so far, but Malika, she is a knockdown shooter. And when she gets going, she can really give a scoring punch that this team needs to overcome the Aces. Now, as for the mindset for tonight, Nate Tibbetts said, I'm trying to balance being raw and hyping my team up versus, applying the appropriate seriousness that they need. But he said all season long, this team has been able to have very open, free conversations. And that's what's happening tonight as they head into this game down 3-0, trying to stave off elimination at least one more game.
One more game at least. This is must win here if you are Phoenix. Kendra, thank you very much, and I will be borrowing that suit coming up. Let's dive more into this matchup here with Coach Carolyn Peck, because, Coach, you saw something going back to the Aces side in Asia's game winner that stuck out to you. What was that?
Well, let me tell you, Malika, we could be having a totally different conversation today, because when you look at that sideline out of bounds, Phoenix didn't have a big on the ball. Can we run the tape and show that sideline out of bounds, Kalia Copper's not putting any pressure on the ball? So what does that do but allow perfect timing after the screen from Jewel Lloyd, and it just buys Asia enough time where Alyssa Thomas is late. And look at that elevation on Asia Wilson's shot. You can't get to it. Just imagine if they'd put Kalani Brown in the game or put some size on the ball. Because the next possession, now the Aces are on defense, and what does Becky Hammond do? Put Kia Stokes on the ball. Yeah, you had 0.3 seconds. You needed to take away whatever time possible so that you throw off the timing so that DeWanna Bonner has the most difficult shot possible. I think those look, this game's a matter of inches. Those little things, especially after the run that Phoenix had made in that second half. Hey, we could have been talking about something different today.
That's what my Nana would say. The devil is in the details, especially when it comes down to the margins in this sort of game. Let's go to the Mercury side of things, though, here, Coach. What are you looking for if they want to extend this series tonight?
Well, we heard Kendra talk about DeWanna Bonner, and I think that she is huge. Now, she's 6'4", brings great length, but in Game 3, she got on the offensive glass, had 4 offensive rebounds. And look at this one. After an offensive rebound, big shot Bonner knocked down the 3. She is that threat from the three-point line. If she has a big on her, she can drive to the basket. And then defensively, she can bring length. If she's not going to stop A'ja Wilson, possibly slow her down, because she has the reach, the length to at least contest and maybe alter some of A'ja Wilson's shots that she gets in the paint. But look, the bottom line is the Aces, they've got to move the ball like they did in the first half. 17 assists, only 4 in the second. If Phoenix clogs the paint and the Aces don't make shots, this could go 5.
All right, well, we could see it be extended. It's going to be an uphill climb without Satou Sabally missing those 20 points a game. Coach, it's never enough time for your Peck Talk. We appreciate you stopping by. Hey, we thought we would go in the bonus on the Aces because they're on the cusp of their 3rd title in 4 seasons, and with one more victory, they will join the 97-2000 Comets as the only teams to win at least 3 titles in a 4-season span in W history. And during this stretch, A'ja Wilson has put together a generational run of accomplishments, and with one more win, she would join Bill Russell as the only players in NBA or W history with 3 titles and 3 MVPs in a 4-season run. But unlike the first 2 titles when the Aces dominated through the regular season, Vegas, they spent the first half of the year around 500, and they look to become the first team in W history to win a title despite a losing record through 25 games. They are 2.5-point favorites tonight in Game 4 as they look to close out the Mercury. We know these are the toughest games to win. Vegas is 7-3 as the favorite this postseason. So joining us now for a little bit more is our WNBA insider, Alexa Philippou. Alexa, I'm curious what the Aces are saying. They're sitting 1 game away from their 3rd championship in 4 years. I would have trouble focusing. What are they zeroing in on here?
Yeah, Malika, well, they were actually asked about the whole dynasty conversation that you were just alluding to, and whether or not, if they take care of business tonight, if they are indeed in that conversation throughout league history. And Becky Hammon flat out said, yeah, I think that if we do win, we have to be considered in that conversation. And I think, remember, she's a player that actually faced off against those Houston Comets teams that won from 97 to 2000. But she was making the point that the league is an entirely different era now versus then. Now the players are better than ever before. The parity is off the charts. It's so much harder to win now. And also thinking about the ways that teams are built. Back then, there was a player allocation draft. That was part of the way that the Comets roster was built. When you think about this Aces team, you have to talk about the foundation that really was built in part by Bill Laimbeer, the former coach, Dan Padover, the former GM, and drafting Kelsey Plum and drafting A'ja Wilson, Jackie Young, and then getting Chelsea Gray back in free agency. So yes, they have to take care of business tonight, and Becky Hammon's really talked about not trying to get ahead of themselves, but they know what's on the cusp of happening today. And of course, there's also so much to be made about A'ja Wilson's legacy when you were talking about her generational run that she's been on. And it's funny because I was actually talking with Becky Hammon about, that kind of element of what is at stake for her. And although I'm sure Wilson will be, brought up in GOAT conversations, the animal that came to mind for Hammon talking about Wilson was actually an elk. And bear with me here as I explain this. She actually texted A'ja Wilson a graphic comparing an elk to a deer. Now, Becky Hammon loves her animal comparisons. So her point that she was trying to make to Wilson is that you think that, you see a bunch of deer around and you think that they're really great creatures, but then you see the elk come into the room and they're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, and they're just altogether more exceptional. And her point that she's really been trying to make all season is trying to get the point across to Wilson is that the rest of the stars in WNBA, they're all deer and Wilson's been an elk. And I think you're really seeing that in this postseason run in this final series in particular.
You know what? The Goodwill Hunting trying to follow all of that was me trying to follow this metaphor, but here's what I know. I know that Becky is saying all of the right things, but there's only one answer to, is this going to be a dynasty and will this solidify A'ja as the GOAT? And that is, you bet it will if they get one more win. Alexa, thank you so very much. Now to some breaking news from the WNBA. With the release of the 2025 All-W first teams, the first team is headlined by All-Universe, right? A'ja Wilson, Nafisa Collier, Alyssa Thomas, Alisha Gray, and Kelsey Mitchell. That was the exact team that I voted for, actually. The second team made up of Wilson's Aces teammate, Jackie Young, and then Aaliyah Boston, Sabrina Ionescu, Nneka Ogwumike, and then the Rookie of the Year, Paige Beckers. Sister Jean Dolores Schmidt, the beloved, recently retired chaplain of the Loyola Chicago men's basketball team, who became a folk hero during its Cinderella run to the Final Four in 2018, passed away late Thursday night. Born in 1919, Sister Jean joined the basketball team in 1994, first as an academic advisor before transitioning to chaplain. And she became an international celebrity as the Ramblers' #1 fan during that 2018 NCAA tournament when the number 11 seed Ramblers, they went on an improbable run to the Final Four, ultimately losing to Michigan. But Sister Jean was with them every step of the way, praying for the team and its opponents before each game, encouraging the Ramblers to play hard, to play together, and to play smart. Her impact at Loyola Chicago, it extended beyond the court with a scholarship fund and an endowment in her honor to support students. And the Chicago train station plaza at the Loyola campus, it was renamed in her honor with a large sign saying home of the world famous Sister Jean. She was 106 years old. What a life.